Welcome, seekers of nuance and sincerity, to a new and resonant episode of Turkish series Stars. Tonight, the spotlights soften and the noise recedes. We are not on a set, and there's no trailer to tease. We're in a quiet space where the man who often appears invincible lowers his guard at last. This isn't about a new blockbuster contract overseas or a glossy photo shoot. This is about the pulse, uneven and honest, of Gökberk Yıldırım. In a revelation that stunned the industry and silenced the most cynical corners of the internet, he allowed the door to his inner life to swing open. What we found there was not the echo of bravado, but the hush of a truth many fear to face. Triumph can taste oddly hollow when there is no one to share it with. Before we step fully into this confession, a heartfelt reminder: if you value storytelling that treats celebrities as human beings and not headlines, subscribe to Turkish series Stars. Turn on notifications so you never miss a chapter. And if you believe in deeper access and braver narratives, hit join and become part of the community that gives us the courage and the means to keep going. Listen closely, because Gökberk has chosen to speak in a way he rarely does. The tabloids rattled. Timelines froze. From Europe to the Middle East and far beyond, admirers took a collective breath. For once he wasn't speaking through a character or a monologue written by someone else. He stood there as a man who has carried the weight of a myth and finally set it down. It wasn't the usual promotional back and forth beneath flawless lighting. It felt like a checkpoint, the moment when applause no longer drowns out the murmur of your own thoughts. For years, his name has been shorthand for success: international shoots, intense productions, a shelf of awards, and brand deals that only the elite entertain. From afar his life looks composed, curated, perfectly framed. Then a single, unguarded admission altered the portrait. He said that when he turns the key at night, the first thing that greets him is the echo. No footsteps, no familiar voice, no "how was your day?" Just the gentle, unyielding insistence of silence. That line is more than a detail, it's a mirror. It reflects the paradox of our era, where a person can be seen by millions and still return to a room that knows only stillness. How many times have we mistaken noise for connection, confetti for comfort? The man draped in superlatives, untouchable, perfect, larger than life, revealed a far quieter craving. The thunder of claps cannot replace the softness of a presence that stays. In that moment, the idol became unmistakably human. Beneath the gym-honed image and the global fame stood someone longing not for another premiere, but for company that doesn't end when the credits roll. Now, Gökberk is in his own version of the threshold years, that curious stretch when your body insists it can run forever, but your heart starts counting in different units: weekends, seasons, reasons. He doesn't bristle at the calendar. He simply refuses to let the number define his spark. Even so, clarity has a way of sharpening with time. He admitted he feels youthful, vibrant, restless in the best way. And then he added, almost under his breath, that days keep moving forward whether we look or not. Suddenly this wasn't a media stop, it was a reckoning. Youth can camouflage emptiness, but it can't cure it. Recognition can float a career, it cannot carry an entire life. For the first time, he described what's missing in a way that felt like he was finally naming a shadow. That acknowledgement rippled through his audience like the memory of a song they all once knew. Turkish series Stars family, pause with us here. Do you believe a person at the summit of their profession can feel whole without a partner to share the quiet with? Is Gökberk's confession proof that the bill for fame sometimes arrives late, and it costs more than expected? Drop your thoughts below. We read every word, every perspective, every story you share. And tell us whom you want to see opened up through this lens on Turkish series Stars. If you're ready to take your support a step further, our join button is there to welcome you into a circle that enjoys exclusive content while helping this channel grow into the space where honesty is possible. From the moment he hinted he might be ready to build a home with someone, the internet lit up with a familiar name: Semra Arda. It wasn't merely a past headline, it was a whole cultural moment, the kind of pairing that fans stitched into their own narratives. In seconds, networks split into camps. Some applauded his vulnerability and said it was about time. Others began decoding, asking whether those words carried a quiet message meant for her. Was he mourning what slipped through their fingers? Was he admitting that some ties, no matter how stretched by distance and duty, never quite tear? These are the questions gossip thrives on, and yet it's impossible to deny that his confession tugged on the thread that binds him to one of his most mythic storylines. That storyline has a face and a name, and the world hasn't forgotten. Perhaps the most unexpected part of his candor was a small word with great weight: order. He spoke about watching his married friends with what he called a healthy envy, not of status or photographs, but of rhythm. He pictured waking to a shared coffee, not taken in a rush but negotiated in glances, returning at night to a meal that ends in truth-telling, opening the door and hearing a voice that turns a space into a home. For him, these were not the extras on the DVD, they were the feature. He said, in essence, that he could step into commitment without a dramatic preface. Not as a stunt or a tease or a headline, but because something in him had crossed a line he didn't realize was there. The actor, celebrated for riding solo for so long, now suspects that the freest version of himself might be the one who chooses to belong. If you've been watching closely, you've probably sensed the change already. The posts are more scarce, more considered. The grand entrances are fewer, the time spent in crowds has shrunk. It looks like a retreat, but not a retreat from life, more like a retreat into it. Whether this means a proposal is imminent is anyone's guess, but the shift feels official. The Gökberk who chased the roar seems to be listening for something else, something gentler that can outlast a standing ovation. He appears more reachable now, less like a statue and more like a neighbor you might actually chat with on the stairs. The transformation isn't loud. It's steady. Behind the scenes at Turkish series Stars, sources who know him well insist this wasn't a flash of emotion caught on a long day. They say it's the product of a quiet recalibration. After seasons of relentless schedules, airports more familiar than living rooms, and connections that flared fast and faded faster, he stopped and took stock. He measured his milestones against the space waiting for him at the end of the day and decided to change the equation. The stillness of hotel rooms between Rome and Istanbul, cities tied to projects and promises, became the backdrop for a private negotiation with himself. Out of that silence came the simple desire to share not just premieres and red carpets, but chores, calendars, responsibilities, and the easy we of an ordinary evening. There's a contract embedded in what he's told us, though no pen has signed it. It's the pact a man makes with time when he finally looks it squarely in the face. He's made peace with the pages flipping. He's stopped pretending the empty chair doesn't hurt. He's said out loud that he wants structure. The kind that protects what matters. The rooms that once greeted him with nothing but their own four walls might soon learn the pattern of two sets of steps, the music of two voices negotiating a day. That's how it often begins. You recognize a gap, and in the simple act of naming it, you start building the bridge that spans it. Here at Turkish series Stars, we'll trace this storyline with the same care we'd want for our own. Maybe this chapter ends with a ring. Maybe it ends with a quiet understanding that commitment wears many faces, and each arrives in its own time. The question that hums beneath everything is who will anchor this new rhythm with him. Does destiny circle back? Does it carve a path through fresh terrain? When he said he longs for order, who did you picture? Did your mind leap to a face from his history, or did it conjure someone we've yet to meet? Let's talk openly. Who fits his new tempo? Who could step into the everyday with him and make it matter? Do you see Semra Arda as the match for this evolving man, or do you suspect the story writes itself differently this time, with someone unexpected entering from stage left? We want to hear your theories, your hopes, your careful guesses. Our comment section isn't just a box, it's the room where this community meets. And if this conversation moves you, don't forget to subscribe, click like, and consider pressing join to help us keep telling these stories the way they deserve to be told, patiently, with heart, with attention to the spaces between the headlines. As we wrap, Let's return to the moment that started it all, a key turning, a door opening, a quiet that sounds like truth. Sometimes a career demands you be louder than you feel, sometimes a human being decides to speak softly and let that be enough. Tonight, Gökberk Yıldırım chose the second path. He didn't promise fireworks. He didn't light a flare. He simply confessed that independence, celebrated as an ideal, can grow heavy without someone to hand it to at the end of the day. And in confessing it, he made that ideal lighter for everyone who heard him. Whether the path bends toward reconciliation with Semra Arda or toward a new story we haven't seen before, something has already changed. A private man made a public truce with himself. He said he wants a life that is less about the calendar and more about the clock that ticks inside a home where two people learn each other's rhythms. That's not a headline, that's a direction. It's the line we'll follow in the weeks ahead, through whispers, sightings, and the quiet places where real choices are made. And when the right voice finally answers from the other side of that door, when welcome is not a word but a warmth, you'll hear it here first. Thank you for being part of Turkish series Stars, where we try to tell the lives of the famous with the care we reserve for our own. Until the next video, keep the conversation alive in the comments, keep it kind, and keep your notifications on. We'll be watching the signs, listening to the silence, and waiting with you for the moment when the echo finally learns someone else's name.